Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We have another nice show, a Four Guys Roundtable with moi.
Nice.
Yes, nice. I'm using the word nice. Garth Pat, AG Nitro, Coach Jeremy. It's a wonderful evening. The clocks got moved forward last night, and I'm stoked because. So here's the deal. When it's
I'm all in favor of being on daylight savings time year round, but that's me.
Listen, at 9:30 at night down here in good old North Kakalaki, North Carolina, the sun's still shining bright, while up there you guys have no sun. So I will take that sun. It's beautiful. I love long days.
I just lost an hour before I had to go to work this morning. That's the only reason I was booing. It doesn't matter the rest of the time.
Yeah, I mean, true, but yes. Other than that, I have nothing. How are you guys doing? Splendid, great, nice conversation. Let's move on.
It's been a crazy ass week, that's for sure.
10 weeks down, 5 to go.
Yes, countdown. Do you have a countdown on your
for
phone?
baseball?
No, that's for tax season.
Oh, tax season. Okay, yeah.
I actually got my income tax return already.
Me too.
Not that this income tax season has been like any more strenuous than anyone's past, but at my job we've had a lot of weird stuff go on. Like we thought we had a data breach because a lot of our returns were getting when we were sending them electronically, they were getting rejected, saying that like the tax return for this person's taxpayer identification number has already been filed. We were getting like half of our returns rejected for that reason, which is not good. But we got confirmation this week that if there was a breach of some kind, it did not come from like our company, like nobody breached us or any of our systems or anything. So at least we know we're not the problem. But something somewhere.
It's your problem, IRS.
yeah, that's just it. It's like it could be the IRS, it could be Intuit, who does QuickBooks, and Lacert, which is the tax program that we use. Not really sure. And I guess in a way it's not surprising because I do remember seeing stories where they're saying about cybercrime like this was on the rise in the last year. And
yeah,
I guess unfortunately this pandemic bred desperation for a good many people, and I totally get that. So many people lost their jobs and every other damn thing. But to me it's like that's probably not the route to go, because I think with this kind of crime they're gonna find you eventually. So
absolutely.
yeah.
So when I was going to work Friday, about half. So I just basically take two main highways. So
right.
And when I get off the second highway, my famous footwear is like. So I was probably half a mile from getting off, and traffic was stopped, and I was close enough that I could see. They had a car pulled over with guns pulled and shit, like cops with guns pulled on people, and one of the guys ran. And he almost got hit by a car on the other side of the highway running. And we had to watch them handcuff each person. And one of the cops had a shotgun and everything, Joe. Guys, it was crazy. I've never been that close to anything like that before.
They were locked and loaded. They were like, they must have did some crazy shit. Or
the car looked like a piece of shit. It was like an old Honda Accord with shitty rims on it and everything. Definitely looked like it's seen its better days. And they even popped the trunk, and the one cop was sitting there with the shotgun when they popped the trunk and everything.
Wow, they must have had something very illegal hidden all over that car. Because in the Honda Accord, there's a lot of places to hide stuff.
Did you guys see the article about the SUV that got hit by a semi, and 10 people died because they were transporting people, like illegal aliens across the border and shit like that?
I did hear about that. That is
terrible.
Horrible on so many levels.
Yeah. I was but it's crazy that that's why those people were in there, and they had 15 people in a freaking what was it, I forget what kind of SUV. It was one of the really big ones, like a freaking Suburban or some shit like that. Just crazy. But
that's I mean, again, unfortunately, that's the kind of stuff that I think you gotta hear about, because people are just going to be desperate, and one reason or another for another. But yeah, that's just
Yeah.
horrible. That's horrible.
So my week ended kind of crazy because I took a half day on Friday to start getting ready for on Saturday because we were moving all my equipment upstairs to my bedroom so my wife can have her own spot and I can have my own spot since we both work from home. And then Saturday we spent cleaning up and getting rid of some of the kids' toys that they don't need, moving Lucas's stuff, some stuff up to his room so we could clean out this playroom because my daughter's having her 10th birthday party and she's having a little sleepover. And then my wife was cleaning up downstairs because we got a heat press. So, gentlemen, now that I have a heat press, we can make some T-shirts, some Four Guys T-shirts, maybe a couple hats. Anybody drink like mugs? Maybe I can make you a mug. So we got some stuff. So that might mean that on fans, you might have the availability to purchase some merch from us in the near future.
I feel like
here.
it should be all four of us with a picture holding up the Four Horsemen symbol since it's four guys. So.
I mean,
that's just
we could.
That's just so hard to. That's just so hard to believe that she's going to be 10 years old already. And then, of course, I remember that in like about 4 months' time, my niece will be 10 years old too. So,
yep, it's crazy.
The time it doth fly.
Yes, it was the funniest thing. Okay, so my daughter, for some reason, when she cracks her neck, it is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like she does like this. She's like, pushes her head forward, and she's like, "I'm trying to crack my neck." I was like, "You look like a freaking chicken. What are you doing?" So we're like, I'm like, circle your head, like do your head in a circle. Everybody knows how to do their head in a circle, and she's doing her head in a circle. And every time she comes around the front, she's like this, and like sticks her head out like a freaking. I'm like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Look up at the ceiling," so I'm to see if she knows how to just put her head straight up and straight back. She's like, she does this. She goes to put her head backwards and she does this and sticks her chin out instead of putting her head backwards. She's like, sticks her chin out. I was like, "What is wrong with you? Are you part chicken? Like, is this like, are you trying?" I'm like, and then so my son starts walking around. Abby's a chicken. Abby's a chicken.
That's funny.
I was dying. So
you make fun of me then.
I had to put it. Oh, well, this ought to be interesting. But so I had to put it in terms that she maybe understood. So I said, "How do you spot?" Because she's in cheerleading. So I said, "How do you spot somebody and look up to make sure that they're doing okay?" And then she actually put her head back like a normal person, and was like, "I said, there you go. That's how you do it." And she's like, "What?" It's like, oh my god! But it was just the funniest thing. Like,
you guys,
it was just funny to hear my son walking around.
You guys
going,
make fun of me.
Chicken. Yeah,
you guys make fun of me because when my discs are bothering me, my head's all over the place. My head's all over here. This, I'm doing all this weird stuff, and my son looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "My neck bothers me." "Oh, it just looks funny," and then he walks away. Like it's simple, but like I'm all doing this. I'm like, just my shoulders are doing weird stuff, and yeah, you guys will make fun of me. I do it for like a good 5 minutes too. I just can't stop. And so like my whole upper body like feels good. And I feel that my sciatic fluid go from one side of my neck to the other, and it pops and goes back over.
That's gotta be a weird ass feeling to be able to feel your fluid flowing back and forth in your neck.
Yeah. Because I have a bunch of spasms that go like to the top, middle of my back of my head, all the way down to the middle of my back. On the left side, I only have 3 on the right, but I have like 11 total on the left side. So I have like 6 of them all up in this area. So when the spasms get really bad and I move, I can barely move my neck. And when I do, you feel it like pops, and you feel it go whoop, whoop. I just like feel it moving all over the place. And the doctor's like, "Yeah, that's what happens." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not what I like to feel a lot of the times," which that stuff causes like my migraines and stuff to kick in. But yeah, you feel it kind of like flow through your neck from one side to another.
That sounds terrible. I don't want
Joe, are you happy with Illinois' draw? Or
I'm fine. We got the 3rd draw. When Michigan lost, I don't even think we needed to win the championship game to get the 3rd.
No, I think you were going to be one no matter what. But.
We're going to be the 3rd number 1 because of Michigan losing. But I was I was a little ticked off today. I was like, if we lose this game, and then we lost because of the refs, like legitimately lost because of the refs. Some of the tacky fouls they called were horrendous, but we pulled it on overtime. That's all I care about. We won.
You guys, I think Oklahoma State is underseeded at a 4. I think they're dangerous. So,
They should have been a 3.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You guys got a team that was underseeded that I think is better. And they're playing really well right now, too. So,
yeah. I haven't looked like I've glanced over the bracket and I watched the show after the Illinois Ohio State game, but I really haven't like dived into and like looked at the bracket. I do say Creighton, I think, is definitely has a chance of not making it past the first rounds. There's a high chance. I think there's a 30% chance that they're going to lose that game in the first rounds. So I definitely would not pick Creighton in my first round bracket. I have to look at some other ones because there's some good matchups too. So it's going to be interesting. My brain is going to be full-fledged thinking at the bracket tomorrow.
I think I'm going to pick Illinois to win the whole thing even. So I was going to pick Michigan and then that Levers got hurt. So, like, he's one of their best players.
Yeah, this mustn't have been a good basketball season for you, college basketball season for you there, AJ, because
no, it wasn't. But you know what? I told one of my friends earlier, I'm like, there's no pressure now, so I can actually watch the tournament and not really have to sweat because Duke's not in it. So the only team that really needs to be out immediately is Carolina and Ohio State, and then I really won't care once those two teams get beat. So,
well, yeah, because you're a Kentucky guy,
right? They stunk this year. Like this is the worst they've been in 30 years. They actually said this is the first time since 1976 that neither Duke or Kentucky's in the tournament.
Yeah, that's crazy. When I was watching, where the hell was I? It was for my daughter's last cheer competition. We were in Lancaster area, and we were at PJ's, and holy crap, we got Darth Pat ceiling, and I was watching Duke, and they were 19-15 or something like that.
They weren't even that. They ended 13-11. So they ended 13-11. So
I must have had
not that good.
I must have had their maybe it was that's weird. It must have been a different team that I know I was watching Duke, but I must have got their win-loss ratio mixed up with another team that was on the screen.
They didn't play a bunch of games at the beginning of the season. They basically said we're not playing any of our non-conference games. So they didn't play as many games as some teams did.
But yeah, it was really interesting to see Duke be so bad.
Kentucky was actually worse than Duke.
And I forget who they were playing that day. You're talking about a week ago. I think they were in, was it their tournament, their individual tournament for their
well, they actually back
tournament. Yeah,
they actually only played one game in that, and then got out of it because of COVID or whatever. They were like, we're done in the tournament. So they actually stopped playing.
They had a positive test.
Boy. So it ought to be interesting.
It's funny with that because with Duke having that positive and dropping out, I think it was yesterday or today, the University of Duke said like all undergraduates are like on lockdown in the college because for whatever reason, Duke and Carolina have both been struggling. Like since I live on the east part of North Carolina, I'm pretty much in ACC country. I'm within a 45-minute drive of NC State, North Carolina, Duke, and Wake Forest. So I have all those four major colleges, and it's all I hear about, which is fine, it is what it is. But like Duke and North Carolina, the kids there at the colleges just they're all over the place. They're all like some of the two Carolina kids got caught at a party with no masks on, and this, that, and the next thing. It's just like they're all over the place. They're so celebrating after wins in the streets and all kinds of stuff. Just not listening to what the school is asking them to do. So hence why I'm not surprised that Duke had a positive test, because probably one or two of their kids went off and did shit they weren't supposed to do. So
Yeah.
I'm actually
It is.
glad that Florida State is in Michigan's bracket because I was going to pick them to the Final Four anyways, and now it makes it a little bit easier
Mhm.
to pick them to the Final Four.
Yeah, true. I mean, they're a good team too. And they're ups and downs, but they're a good team overall.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna
This
study
is
the
just-
bracket more tomorrow.
This is
and
just
see what I'll do.
this is a year where it's not all the people you're used to. So it's different teams, and it's Gonzaga might finally win because they actually are the best team on paper this year. So
Yeah, how many times has Gonzaga been in it and they get like maybe the Elite 8 or Sweet 16 and then fucking lose?
they made it to the championship game once and they lost to Carolina. So
Lost to the Tar Heels. I mean, it's just, I think one of the biggest things too is a lot of the college kids took advantage of the staying, the eligibility, getting that extra eligibility if,
Mhm.
they didn't want to go pro, or some kids just looked at their pro stock, and the NBAs were just very all over the place with their, camps and all that stuff because of what was going on. So some of the kids weren't really getting a true grade of where they could or could not land. And like, am I going to get drafted? Am I high first? Am I a low first? Am I a high or low second rounder? Am I not going to get drafted? Like, where do I sit? And some kids, they were like, yeah, you might not get drafted. Some kids were like, well, you're middle to end of the second round. So some of those kids were just like, well, let me just go back then. I mean, so there's a lot of teams that ended up having, veteran guys come back, and, it kind of made a difference for a whole bunch of teams, which is good. But, some other teams too, I think that were a lot younger, that they struggled against a lot of the veteran teams that came back and put together runs.
Well, the
Mickey, go ahead.
The simple fact is that a lot of these kids go out way too early anyways, and
Yeah.
a high percentage of them end up playing in the freaking D and G league anyways. And
Or
they
in
never
Europe.
or in Europe, and they never become a full-fledged pro anyways. And the ones that do, a lot of them are, and you could speak to this better than I can, AJ, but a lot of them are mediocre at best. They're not even superstars in the NBA. Very few of them become those superstar players.
There's been so many Kentucky players that have went to the NBA this last 10 years. I mean, they have probably 8 players that went there who are pretty good. And then they have like, I think there's 35 or 36 players currently on rosters in the NBA that are from Kentucky. So some of them are just role players, but they have probably 6 or 7 guys who are studs. And like one of my friends, some of my other friends have asked me on more than one occasion. They said, do you like Calipari? I said, yes. Has he underachieved in college? I said, yes. They probably should have won at least one more championship when you're getting that many blue chip recruits every year. But he's also the best coach in putting players in the NBA in the history of the sport. He's put more players in the NBA than anybody's ever done. But he's coaching a college basketball team, and he's supposed to win. But it sounds like he's more worried about their future sometimes than he is about winning. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's like, I wish they won more, but there's a lot more players in the NBA from that school than any other school. And I have a more vested interest in the NBA now because there's a lot of guys on a lot of different teams, and they're all pretty good. Most of them, enough of them are good enough that they've made an impact. Whereas there's a lot of other schools that only have 1 or 2 guys, maybe. Nobody's really got tons of guys other than Kentucky right now in the NBA.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of interesting to hear, something like that. And I've always said that's the Calipari's credit, that he's basically says to his players, like, look, if you feel like, it's your time to go or whatever, you got to make money or whatever, go and do that. Because you contrast that a little bit with college baseball, and the one, prospect guy who used to work for ESPN and works for the Athletic now, Keith Law. He writes endless amounts of times about pitchers specifically who go to like big time college baseball programs and basically have their arms ruined because their coaches are under pressure to win and aren't thinking about like their long-term health benefits. So you see these stories about these guys like in the College World Series, they throw 165 pitches in a game.
Yeah.
That's a ton of pitches. I mean, and I'm
Right,
not one
I
to
mean-
believe in pitch counts, but that's a lot of pitches.
But that's just it. But major league pitching, major league teams don't let their pitchers throw anywhere close to that. So they'll throw like
No.
165 pitches one day, and then they'll like be expected to like be available for like the next day if it's like a must-win game or something like that. So you hear about that a little too often in college baseball where the coaches just ruin the guy's arm. So I've never been a big fan of Calipari because I think he's shady. I mean, he's pretty much been caught everywhere he's gone, but
Except
I've
this
always,
time so far.
right. But
I said so far.
I'm not commenting on that right now, but it's just I do respect the fact that he is willing to say, hey, if you think you need to go, if you need to make money, you think this could be your best chance, whatever, blah blah blah. I'm not going to stop you. So
I
always thought that was a good thing.
I didn't like him before he got to Kentucky, but I think I've learned to like him because he's snarky, and I like snarky because he's snarky in a good way. Sometimes, like, he's not afraid to like call out Krzyzewski or call out somebody else or take a pot shot at the NCAA. Like, he's not afraid to like do that kind of stuff. And sometimes coaches are afraid, we don't want to do this. We don't want to ruffle feathers. And he's definitely somebody that has said stuff that maybe most coaches wouldn't have, but I like his snarkiness. Actually, I've learned to enjoy his snarkiness. And my friend Mickey Joe said he would not want to get in a fight in a dark alley with Cockburn. So he said that dude's a scary motherfucker. So
Cockburn. What?
It's Coke. His name's Cockburn. Kofi
Cockburn. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That is a terrible last name. I feel sorry for that dude because there's
Cockburn. No, listen. I said that too at first because when he was a freshman, they just kept referring to him as Kofi. I'm like, how do you spell? It's like how do you pronounce this dude's last name? Like, is it Cockburn? Is it Cockburn? Like what is this? And it's like Cockburn. It's like, okay, thanks. I was like, I think what it would be the other way around. Yeah, he's a big dude. He's probably like the best. He's the best big man I think Illinois has ever had. I will say that hands down. He's
and I'm sure that. I mean, we talked about this the other night. Pat wasn't with us. I'm sure this one. We'll keep his mouth shut. We'll not make any anti-Semitic remarks like Miles Leonard.
Yeah, definitely won't.
I'm telling you, I don't understand how you can use, we'll say the K word towards anybody and not realize that is a derogatory term towards the Jewish people. And it was
Maybe
funny.
he's one of
I
those
saw
bad sheltered kids. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. What was really, really funny to read, and I'm sure Julian Edelman was very serious about this, but he wrote like a tweet or some shit. I forget what it was exactly, but I saw the post from wherever it was. It might have been on Instagram about inviting Leonard to a Shabbat so he could educate him on fucking Judaism and why that term's derogatory and shit like that. I was like, I'm sure he was serious as hell, but it's funny to read because he also says, I don't think you're ignorant. I think you were uneducated, I don't think you're stupid, but you were evidently uneducated in, anti-Semitic terminology and stuff like that. I'm just like, I'm sure he wasn't. I'm sure he just didn't fucking remember that he's being recorded on Twitch and just fucking let it fly.
Should make no difference. Should make no difference if you remember you're being recorded or not. That's just ignorance.
100% agree. All right.
Oh my God.
So with that funny little thing how brought up, I think it's time we should start our show, right? And Pat's leaving us again.
Pat.
All right, hold on.
What are we doing? What are we doing there, Pat? That this keeps happening. I don't want to allude to anything, but what are we doing?
I think the problem is that I was balancing the phone on a slightly
It's a shaky desk today.
Yes, I thought would be stable. Either that or the cord's being tugged a little too.
He said
cord is being tugged. Are you sure that's what's being tugged?
It's definitely a cord issue.
It's definitely not a cord issue.
Oh, great.
There, I think we should be good.
That was
Yeah,
fabulous. He said tongue.
I was balancing it on this Blu-ray, so you know.
games.
Oh, this all topic of conversation is tonight there, Patrick. Thank you.
What is our topic of conversation, sir?
Before we did that, I wanted to ask you guys: did you see
No.
this list that WWE.com put out about the 10 greatest
WrestleMania
main
matches.
events?
I did not go look at it, but my curiosity was piqued because I felt like I was going to laugh at most of it.
Okay, I think you will too. I'll give you the list from 10 to 1 in a second here, but I'll just say this real quickly. I think they went for spectacle and historical,
Value.
impact over quality. So that being
That
said,
doesn't
That
surprise
doesn't
me.
surprise me.
yeah, it really doesn't. But
That means
that is
this list is going to be a train wreck.
so number 10, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 19.
Okay, that's decent.
Number 9, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, WrestleMania 6.
Oh my god.
Number 8, Batista, Randy Orton, Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 30.
Okay.
7, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar / Seth Rollins, WrestleMania 31.
Fine with that.
That one's fine being on there somewhere.
6, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, WrestleMania 15.
So that's the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
5, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, WrestleMania 35.
And
And not that
Yeah,
that wasn't
definitely-
a good match, but it wasn't top 10.
The problem was, again, we've mentioned it before.
I know.
The
It's
First
awful.
awkward-
women's
terrible.
main event. First
Oh,
women's main event at WrestleMania.
Right, so that's why I'm not surprised it's on there. But again, it should have been a really good match, but just the awkwardness and randomness,
Yeah.
if the finish really unfortunately takes it down a couple notches. We've said that before.
Yeah, the finishes suck.
Number 4, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 12.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 3, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 26.
Okay.
2, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, WrestleMania 3.
Brock
number-
Hogan has to be number 1 then.
And no, it doesn't, because that was not a main event.
Oh.
Number 1, Rock, John Cena, WrestleMania 28.
Okay.
Mm,
Mm,
that can't be number 1. There's better
Yeah.
matches than that one. And I'm a Rock and a Cena fan, and I can't put
I-
that number 1.
I mean,
Oh, then.
I thought the WrestleMania 29 match was better than the WrestleMania 28 match.
No, I think the first one was better.
I
So-
didn't think so, because I thought The Rock was way too obviously winded too quickly in that first match. So,
Yeah, he does get into this.
but as my 4-year-old niece Eleanor just said, "Damn."
I mean, there's like some of those matches. I mean, I think Undertaker, Shawn Michaels should probably be number 1 on that list personally. So, but it's funny that you bring this up, Pat, because I wanted to ask you this anyways. I actually said this on my other podcast the other night. If Brock hits the shooting star, that's the best WrestleMania match ever, I think, if Brock doesn't botch the shooting star. Would you say, Pat, that you could make an argument that if he hits that could be the best WrestleMania match of all time?
I think you could certainly make the argument, yes.
Okay.
What I think this list also kind of proves, though, in a lot of ways, is that because when they're saying main event, they were definitely going for, final match here. There's been so many great WrestleMania matches which were not the final match.
Mhm.
Rock Hogan, Savage Steamboat, Savage Ric Flair, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Bret Hart, Steve Austin. Just the first Undertaker Shawn Michaels match. Just so
Mhm.
yeah, I could probably come up with a list of 10 matches that were not the main event that are better than that list of 10 matches which were the main event.
That's probably a good point, Pat.
And that's why you can't ever go by WWE putting out their own best of list of anything, because it's completely biased on what probably Vince says. I want this is our list.
I
So-
don't think Vince bothers himself with something like that.
I don't
but
either.
But I think it's more possible that the people who put this stuff together know what is in Vince's mind, or at least could predict it in a way where they're like, well, this is what Vince would put on the list. So,
Oh, okay.
So
I'll give him that.
It even today I saw the poster for WrestleMania, and all the people like McIntyre's on it, and Sasha and Bianca,
Okay.
and Edge, but Bad Bunny's on it. No Seth Rollins, no Randy Orton, no Kevin Owens, no AJ Styles, none of those people, but Bad Bunny's on it. And I'm like, okay. And they're trying to reach out to the market. I understand it, but it's also not fair to those other guys to be left off there because of some celebrity person that might put on a good match, but the jury's out on that.
I'm gonna go with probably not.
well, I mean,
Mediocre at best.
He likes wrestling, and everything I keep reading sounds like he's training and he wants to do this. So if the guy wants to do it and we get something close to Pat McAfee, more power to him. If the guy gives me what Shaq did, I don't want it. I don't give a shit. So
I mean,
True there.
some of the guys you mentioned about not being on the poster, it's like, yeah, it's weird about how they're not, but at the same time, Seth Rollins really isn't in a program right now.
no. And Randy Orton's the one person that is going to be in a match at WrestleMania. Those other guys, who knows at this point. So
yeah, that's just it. Like I read something the other day, it says that they don't really have the WrestleMania card finalized yet, and I'm like,
no, they said
We
that
wanna
Vince
get on that.
scrapped a bunch of shit 3 weeks ago. They went back to the drawing board apparently.
Yeah. Jeez.
This is not good shit.
can't keep,
Once in his life, he said that.
can't keep going back to the drawing board repeatedly. At some point, I think you just gotta have faith, and I don't fucking know.
It depends on who's drawing the picture. If it's a 4-year-old kid, you probably have to go back to the drawing board a couple times to figure out what the hell they're drawing.
And
I always know what my 4-year-old niece and nephew are drawing. I ask them, "What's that?" They tell me what it is. I take their word for it.
I agree.
I think it was pretty priceless on Talking Smack Saturday morning too, when Paul Heyman's like, Christian ran to AEW because he didn't want to deal with Roman Reigns.
I know.
Well,
That is fabulous.
Technically, that's not exactly what he said, but I mean that's what he said. So.
That is fabulous. Even though we all know it's not true, that is Heyman being Paul Heyman. So,
I mean, he used something and in a positive way to shit on Christian, but yet, put up Roman Reigns, So it was good. It was good
'Cause
improvising.
I was actually talking to our other friend Pat 2 nights ago, and Pat said, how is Edge and Christian versus Roman Reigns and Jey Uso not the main event at Fastlane? And I don't disagree with him on that. I think that should have been. It doesn't need to be a title match. I think it should have been a tag match because Edge and Roman is already done. So now they're clouding the water on that. And I'm afraid Daniel Bryan's going to end up in that match. It's going to be a 3-way now, and I don't want that to happen. So,
Well, you and me talked about that a while ago. We're figuring out who Edge was going to go after, and we talked about Roman. I'm like, Roman, Uso, Edge, and Christian. How do you not put those 4 into a program? The other Pat's absolutely correct. How did you not do that? And you just let Christian be like, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. They just
sorry, we digress, Jeremy. Sorry.
My bad.
I mean, it's the obvious reason is because they've never given that much of a shit about Christian.
Yeah.
At least Vince hasn't. Because remember, we always heard that thing about Vince saying about he's just so ugly. Can't we just put a blue dot on his face?
Yeah. Ridiculous. All right, what?
They did. I did see that they said potentially though Roman and Edge is the main event at WrestleMania, and Kenny Omega and Christian could be the main event at Double or Nothing, and that's AEW's WrestleMania. So
Yeah, that could be possible.
AEW does not have a WrestleMania.
Well, that's their biggest, the pay-per-view they try to bill as their biggest one, is what I'm saying.
That's great. It's good for them.
So everyone, tonight we are talking about War Games.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
Because Darth Pat threw up the disc that I have
Oh,
sitting right
okay.
here next to me
Ooh.
as well. Oh wait, hold on. I'm all over the place with the camera.
I'm
Right
getting
here.
sick. Oh my god.
Right here. Ooh. We are going to do a little compare and contrast.
Begin.
And we're going to talk about the first War Games and then NXT's version of the War Games from 2019.
Yes. Not 18,
what
as
we're
I
gonna
got confused a couple times when I was trying to make sure.
Listen,
that I watched the
18,
right
19, whatever.
Actually, I
Throw a
don't think
little
there was a
loop
War
there.
Games 2018, or was
There
there?
is. Oh,
Okay,
there
because
is.
I couldn't find it on the network. I was probably looking under the wrong thing for that.
It's okay.
But that's all right. I watched the right one. That's the most important thing. I watched the
Yes.
correct one. All right. So let's talk about oh boy. I'm gonna be this how can I put it? So 1987 War Games.
And I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt on everything because this was the first time they'd ever done this. So they did not necessarily know where the camera should be. There's definitely stuff that you can't really pick on them for because it was the first time they were doing it and they didn't really know. I don't even know if they completely knew everything that was going on. I think they just kind of jumped in head first because as I've said to Joe, when LOD tries to do their finisher, they realize, oh, there's a ceiling. We can't put them up on our shoulder, so now we have to do it sideways.
Yeah. And when they did that move, they screwed up. They separated his shoulder or broke his collarbone. It was one of those two. So Paul Ellering, not Paul Ellering, JJ Dillon
James J.
definitely
Dillon.
got the bad part of that move.
So I don't know if they really practiced or did anything. I think they just kind of jumped in face first, dove in, and just kind of ran into problems during the match and said, okay, we're going to
I
learn
enjoyed
from
it.
this.
So let me just set this up for everybody that may not know much about the first War Games. No, that's okay. And I might have Darth Pat jump in here, our local historian. So the two teams that were part of this was the Four Horsemen, including JJ Dillon, which was the manager, I guess, sort of say mouthpiece,
Yes.
which they didn't really need a mouthpiece because the Four Horsemen had mouthpieces.
Except for Lex Luger. Except for Lex Luger.
Except for Lex Luger. So this iteration of the Four Horsemen did include Lex Luger. So it was Ric Flair, Lex Luger, boy oh boy, help me out here.
Tully Blanchard,
Tony Blanchard,
Arn Anderson.
and Arn Anderson. And then the other team that was part of this was the Dream Team. So you had Dusty Rhodes, you had LOD, you had Nikita Koloff, right? That was okay.
Yes.
I was trying to remember because they don't really mention his name too many times in the thing, and there was no, words across the bottom to say who it was. So Nikita Koloff, and then you had Paul Ellery in there because he was the manager for LOD. And that just right there, when I saw the managers were actually in it, I was like, oh no, this could be very, very bad. Just for the fact that managers normally don't get in the ring. Sometimes they were never wrestlers. Sometimes they were and weren't very good. So they just went to managing. So I was a little concerned about this match. And I'll just say in the beginning, it looked really good. I thought it started off really good. You had, Tully Blanchard was in first with.
No, Dusty and Arn were in first.
Oh, Dusty and Arn. Thank you. Dusty and Arn.
Tully came in after. Yeah,
Right,
Tully
Tully
they
came
won
in
the
after.
coin toss and Tully came in.
yes.
Dusty Arn, Dusty Flair, Dusty Tully. To me, any combination of one of those three guys with Dusty is fine because you want your guys that can actually wrestle in the beginning, in the first 5 minutes of that match.
Right.
You want the guys that can actually wrestle the best.
And for the most part, Dusty Rhodes had the upper hand almost the entire time. What I did really like, and I made a note of this, is I like the fact that he used the top of the cage and ran his head across the top of the cage because everybody runs it across the side, but he actually ran it across the stage. And like within maybe a minute and a half, Arn's got blood. He's already got color. He's busted open. Didn't take long. So I'm going to kick it over to Darth Pat.
That's kind of like the theme. That's kind of like the theme of the older War Games.
Yes.
It's more about the blood and the gore and like that kind of stuff.
And
Whereas
overselling.
Yes.
when we get to the
Arn
other
was a hell
one-
of a seller.
yes,
in that match.
When we get to the other one, we're going to talk. It's kind of times have changed to where it's not about the blood and stuff anymore.
Yeah, selling is really good. I saw just anybody being thrown against the cage when like I think Hawk was the first dude from LOD come in. He takes Tully Blanchard, like
Yes,
he's like got
It
him
was
wrapped
Animal.
around his legs.
It was Animal
Yeah,
came in first.
Oh, Animal, yeah, Animal's first. He grabs him around his legs and he's like going like this.
yes.
And he's like Tully's just hitting the cage and they're just like selling the shit out of it. He threw Tully like over the ropes and he like sold flying over both ropes.
You did have
Very
some of the
good.
guys who are very good at selling in this match.
yeah.
If you take the two managers out, you have guys who are top-notch sellers in this match.
They
So-
had the right they had the right guys for
Yeah.
that time in that match, minus the managers.
And
Listen,
Lex
Paul
Luger a
Ellering's
little
pretty
bit.
jacked. Yeah, Luger. He's a little all over the place. I felt like he seemed lost. Out of most of anybody in that match, he seemed
Yes.
lost.
Yeah, but you can
That's
cover him
not
up
really
with
his forte.
7, 8. You can cover him up with 8 other guys. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Ellering though, he was in a couple
that
war
time, yeah.
games. Yeah, he was a pretty jack dude. He was worth those weights with LOD, I guess.
Pat,
Yeah,
what do
he
you
enjoyed-
think, Pat?
Well, I mean, both Paul Ellering and JJ Dillon had been wrestlers in the past. I mean, Ellering more recently than Dillon at that point. I think Ellering had suffered an injury, I believe, that really ended his interim career,
Mhm.
to a large extent. But yeah, he was still able to participate in that. But yeah, a lot of the things that you guys are saying or have already said are true. Yeah, it was very much meant to be a spectacle of that time and of that era, and blood was a part of that, especially in
Yep.
Southern wrestling. If you want to, go to that,
And
go to that
non-WWE.
level. Yeah. Well, WWE would use blood sometimes back,
But
in
not
that
like
era, but
WCW did.
not like Crockett or WCW or like Mid South or like any of like the other like Southern type promotions that you had some of the best bumpers in there, like Arn
Bumpers
Anderson,
too. You had good bumpers too.
Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard are really two of the best bump takers, and obviously Flair too. And the funny thing about that, of course, is you got two guys on the other side whose whole gimmick was basically that they didn't sell a fucking thing. In the Road Warriors,
We got to see a Flair flop or two. So
yeah, and again, Nikita Koloff was never meant to be a bump taker either. He was always meant to be like that impervious guy too. So, but yeah, they definitely had like the right order. Like you start with Arn and Dusty, then Tully came in, then Hawk came in, then Flair came in, then I don't remember if it was Nikita or I'm sorry, I said Hawk and then Animal. I don't remember if Nikita or Animal came in, then like Luger was the
Nikita.
second to last guy on the Horsemen, and then obviously the managers are going to be last because the match doesn't begin until all 10 guys are in the ring, and all that. So obviously like the managers are going to be the most vulnerable members of their team, so like they have to be the ones who are in the ring the last. And obviously Luger had the least experience of anybody too, and you could almost tell that sometimes Luger really looked like he wasn't really sure of what he should be doing at any one given time. So that wasn't his fault. He was still really, really new at that point. Like he hadn't been in Jim Crockett Promotions that long. He hadn't been with the Horsemen that long, but he hadn't even been wrestling that long at that point. I think maybe only like a year or two. So he was the guy. He had the $1 million look, of course, but he didn't really have the
package to go with it.
Yeah, he didn't.
Why are you
have
talking about his
the
package? What's wrong with you?
Well, he's the one who always referred to himself as the total package, Jeremy.
I'm sure. We'll ask Miss Elizabeth. Oh, sorry, we can't.
Oh,
Oh wow,
ouch.
that's a bird.
Ouch.
Bird.
Lex Luger's a dick.
I still semi-blame him.
Oh,
for
let me correct that. Lex Luger's not a nice guy.
It was really funny because they all came out to one music and they fucking sat in chairs like there. That was so not like just not organized, them just sitting there in chairs watching. I was like, wow.
So
Well, yeah. that
speaking
was
of
the thing.
music,
Go ahead.
what the fuck did the Dream Team come out to? That music was damn stupid. Like it was terrible. I'm like, what the
No
hell is this
clue.
synthesizer like space music? Like what
My
the hell is
guess-
this?
My guess is that they came out to something that they couldn't
get rights to anymore.
Right. They couldn't put out on like a published media or whatever, so that it was dubbed over. That's my guess.
Pat's probably right about that.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It's like this.
It was
is
so
awful.
odd.
Yeah, I mean, there's usually some pretty bad dubbed over music on
WCW's music, NWA/WCW. It's not like they had a lot of generational themes that we'll remember for the rest of our life. So I mean, once we got to the NWO and stuff, but late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't a whole lot of good music coming out of there. So
yeah, I mean,
Only a handful.
one of the best theme songs that NWA had at that time was the Midnight Express music, which was taken from the Midnight Express movie. So, you know, but anyway, I forgot what I was saying.
You were going to talk about I was talking about them sitting in chairs around the ring.
Right. That was very much, I think, it was much like in the way that you were saying about how they didn't really know where to do and stuff. It was literally them figuring it out as they went. And I think that was part of it too, because I think when you look at the future versions, it might have even been as recent as soon as the one that they did like the later that month in the Orange Bowl, where the War Machine, Big Ball Finn in a mask, had to sub in for Dylan because of Dylan's injury. I don't think they sat at ringside waiting for their turns. I think they were all standing, and like any other subsequent War Games match, you see they're all like standing on the outside, like at least of the NWA WCW version. But what I thought was really great about the match is that, I mean, this is another product of the times. It's astounding to think of how close they are to the crowd when they come walking in. And how far away the crowd is from the wrestlers now. Like, we're obviously we're talking pre-pandemic, but there is that distance between the wrestlers and the audience now, which there just wasn't back then. It's like, and you wonder why there were riots back then. When they could get that close to the guys. But the great thing about this first match was the crowd was into it from the bell. I mean, just like
they legit were.
They literally responded to everything. Now, obviously, the business was so different back then. You didn't see like the super cards so often the way that you do now and everything. But again, the crowd ate up everything. And when you have a crowd, and when you have a crowd that's that hot, even if the quality of the match is lacking in places, you're not going to notice it as much. And I thought that was something that was an interesting contrast between these two matches. I'll talk about it more when we get to the NXT one. Is that I actually think that the crowd was more into this first one than they were in the NXT one.
That one I don't agree with at all. So I 100% disagree with you on that.
I'll explain that further when we get there. But I just really felt that the crowd was really more into this match. And I think and again, this is my opinion, I think another reason why that is because everybody wanted to see the Four Horsemen get theirs. Like, there were people who cheered for the Horsemen, occasionally and everything like that. But I mean, the vast majority is like knew that the Four Horsemen were the heels, motherfucker. They're the heels. You're supposed to boo them. God damn it! What the hell you doing cheering for the heels?
Yeah, what's wrong with you, AJ?
Right. But hey, it was cool. I was doing it way before it was cool to do it. So
yes, you were.
But so everybody wanted to see the Horsemen get theirs. I mean, and this was like the way for the Horsemen to get theirs.
That's true. You're right about that.
So that's what really helped for it too, because I guess you could almost call it like a bloodlust from the audience in a way too. So like when they see Arn bleeding, when they see Tully bleeding, when they see Flair bleeding, that's just going to get them more hyped up. When they see JJ getting his head rammed into the top of the cage, and when they see JJ being used by the Road Warriors as a freaking battering ram into the side of the cage, and when they see them picking them up for the Doomsday Device, and of course not, and then just dropping him right on his. Oh my God! I should made my dad watch that bump today because he hadn't seen it, and he just went, "Oh, he's dead."
Yeah, he took it a couple times too, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's the old school version." Oh man!
And the funny thing was, I had him watch the Sid Pillman power bomb from the '91 War Games match after that too, so he could see that bump. That's a different subject.
I mean, it's very possible that in some way, shape, or form that maybe is potentially why there's no roof on the War Games anymore?
No, I mean I can understand that, of course. My take is I much prefer it with the roof. To me, it's like it's not War Games without the roof, but I think there's a couple reasons why WWE hasn't done it like that, which are obvious. I mean, one is Hell in a Cell, like that's their thing. And two, I think, is because, I mean, as we'll again talk about when we get to the NXT match, it's about doing a spot. So
yeah, it's about doing spots off the top of the cage now. That's one of the things that's changed.
Right. So I mean, was this a great technical match? Hell no. Was it meant to be? It was meant to just be a brawl. It was meant to just be guys like, going in there,
Beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah, pound on each other with fists and bionic elbows and kicks, and you're slamming them into the cage and throwing them from one ring to the other. And I'm sorry again, like when Animal throws Tully from the one ring to the other and Tully just goes flying. That's just one of the all-time great, like kind of funny spots that you have there. You just watch Tully just take off.
Yeah.
So
and I think
another thing.
Go ahead, Theo.
Go ahead. No,
so
okay.
I was gonna make a comment about the blood. When you look back that match, I think there was 3 people that didn't have blood. I don't. Paul Ellery. I don't remember seeing him with blood, but he might have got blood because Flair took the. No, he didn't. Okay, so
Luger probably didn't.
I don't think Luger did.
Yeah, Luger didn't.
Hawk didn't, and I don't think Nikita Koloff did. Those 4 guys, I don't think ever got blood.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Road Warriors. Animal might have.
Animal did. I remember seeing Animal had blood at one point in time.
I don't think Hawk did. I don't think Nikita did. And I don't think
either one of those did. Then.
But that's the whole thing too. And I mean, again, that was like, if it was a War Games match, you're expected to bleed. I mean, again, I also went and watched the 92 War Games match today because that's one of my favorites and one that people say the best. And like half the guys in that ring were all bleeding pretty good. So yeah, it's just expected. And 1 or 2 of the faces might bleed, but it's like you want to see the heels bleed.
Yeah. So go ahead, Joe. You wanted to make a point.
Yeah, it was just watching that match it kind of made me want to watch some 80s wrestling, to be honest. Especially like it really did, especially like LOD, because I forgot how vicious Hawk was in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he came in, like it's not that like I don't think he was being like he was stiffing anybody, but he was just over aggressive. Like you see guys, Irish whip him into the corner. They go over, run into him or whatever, and then they grab him. They're doing this. Hawk is going all the way back, like he's turning his body and he's going full fledged. And his chops were hard. Like he was very vicious with his moves. It was kind of crazy. And I started watching some other stuff. I'm like, wow, this is really fun to watch. I really enjoyed. I just kind of like they're one of the of course we talked about tag teams, but like they were really good and like extremely vicious in the ring. I was like, holy shit, like I need to start watching some of this old stuff again.
Are you just saying vicious intentionally, or are we saying do we keep saying vicious intentionally?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Joey the stylist, do we keep saying vicious intentionally, or
so
I know what you're talking about.
I think Hawk.
Who's Joey the stylist? I don't know who that is either. Who's that guy? Joey the stylist? I don't remember that person.
I always felt like Hawk maybe didn't know his own strength sometimes, but the way that he no-sold could also be hilarious because like when JJ came in the ring, he goes like up to Hawk and he like throws like this right hand at him and Hawk's looking at him like, what was that?
I think did he like do a chop on him too? And
he's just like
Hawk was like
he's like did a gnat just land on me?
It was funny.
He used to beat the shit out of him. So
yeah. So I had a couple other points.
There's a part where Nikita Koloff does a double clothesline. I always liked when Nikita Koloff did the double clothesline to 2 people. So back then.
He's another he was really good too. Another wrestler that is he in the Hall of Fame, Pat?
Nope.
He's not.
Nope.
I think he should be.
Probably because he's a guy he never worked for Vince.
Yeah. That sucks, man. He was really good.
I liked him. I definitely liked him when I was a kid. He was a guy I really liked.
Yeah, and of course the interesting thing, of course, about Nikita Koloff just being in this match is, I mean, this is 8 months after Magnum TA's car accident.
Mm-hmm.
if Magnum TA never had that accident, of course, Nikita Koloff never would have been turned face, and
Right.
that would have been that would have been Magnum in that match, which might have actually made the match. Not taking anything away from Nikita Koloff, but it might have made the match better because Magnum had a lot more history with the Horsemen, especially with Tully Blanchard, going back to the I Quit match for the U.S. title at Starrcade. So, just always something that I always like kind of think about when I watch that match. I'm like, man, what could it have been like with Magnum?
Yeah. So I want to kind of wrap up War Games 1987, but I wanted to make a couple points and see if you guys had anything to add to them. And that was when it got to be 8 guys in the ring, it got real chaotic. Like there just seemed to be way too much going on.
They couldn't. They couldn't because it was new. Like when the camera was outside trying to pan in, it was hard. It was not like that's the problem. I think the camera, them learning where the camera needed to be, I'm sure it got better. That was the first one where the more people got in the ring, it got harder because the cameras weren't always in the right place. And they were doing it on the fly. So I don't think, oh shit, maybe let's try this camera. Let's try this camera. Yeah. Sometimes none of the cameras were working and they were not always ever in the right.
Because when Animal had Tully and was doing that thing to him, like you see half of it. They're like in the middle of the ring and you can see what's going on in the ring and to the right. But in the left, they're all the way up. And it's like the camera's just not, you see Tully coming like back, but you don't really see him full-fledged hitting the cage really, but you can tell he's like selling the shit out of it. But it's like, oh, there's a great spot right there they're missing. But it's just them not knowing what the hell to do.
And the last point I wanted to make, and this will kind of wrap up War Games 87 too, is I thought the strategy was really good. Like once the managers got in, it was okay. Keep the horsemen busy, beat up the manager, and get him to be the one who submits. Quits. But I also think that made it for a very weak ending. Now knowing that JJ Dillon actually got legitimately hurt makes a little bit more sense, but it still made it a weak ending to the way that match, how good that match was for that time period and how innovative that was. It made it a real weak ending to it, in my opinion.
I would have preferred if Ellering was the one who made JJ like submit and not LOD, but I mean, it was his tag team who did it, I guess. But I kind of thought that might have been something that could have been a little bit better for an ending, but maybe the injury kind of like sped that up because once both managers are in there, I think it's 3, 4.
Not 5. It's less than 5 minutes, probably.
Yeah, 3-4 minutes, and then the match is over.
Yeah, it was real.
So that could have been it.
The match itself, if you take the entrances out, the match is only like 20 minutes. If you take the entrances out, because I watched it again today, and at about the one on Daily Motion, at about 4.5 minutes, the match actually starts, and it's over at 26 minutes. So it's about a 21-minute match total.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it though. I liked watching it.
One of the problems I kind of did have with this match is like you were saying, like it was like the whole point was to isolate JJ, make him be the one to submit and everything. And this might have been, again, just because of the chaotic nature of the match. It was the first time they were doing it, blah, blah, blah. You didn't really see or get a sense that any of the horsemen were like, we need to go save JJ.
There was no urgency. Yeah.
I mean,
like Flair was over there for a little bit, but
yeah, you really didn't get a sense to say that like any of them were like over there, like actively trying to protect him or anything. And so that hurts it a little. But that's also one of those things that, again, you could kind of just chalk it up to, this is the first time we're doing this.
So this will be it. Mr. Big Dog Dave Meltzer did give this match 5 stars.
I think it was well deserving. I thought overall the match was good. The significance of the match made sense. Like I said, the only thing only personal takeaway is the weak ending for it.
Yeah, I liked it.
I might be tempted to rate it just a shade below 5. I could also understand why you would rate it 5 at the time because there had been nothing like it.
Right.
So
they were ahead of their time making a match.
It's fine.
Like
if anything, you could move it down to 4.75, but I don't think any lower than that. So, but it's fine. because I think it set the table.
Mhm.
Like it set the table for, it's just like the first time there was a Hell in a Cell match that set the table. The first time there was a ladder match, they've all set the table for more. If you do the match once, like the Ready to Rumble garbage, and it never happens again, then clearly that didn't work. So this one is another one that works. So you have to give the first people in it credit no matter what. Even if this match was a pile of crap, I would still give it credit because it started something. It was the initiator of War Games matches.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you mentioned that Ready to Rumble, like the triple cage thing, the one the more egregious, worst example of that, where WCW was what the hell is it called, the Tower of Doom one, the
one with Hulk Hogan and Savage trying to go through 10 people.
Yeah, the one with Hogan and Savage beating every heel on the roster, triple cage, whatever
that hot mess.
Yeah.
I watched the other Tower of Doom today, the original one. That wasn't that bad. I actually enjoyed. It was interesting. Where was that?
Never seen the Tower of Doom matches.
That was Great American Bash 1988.
All right. So we're going to wrap. We're going to say we're done with the 87 War Games. And before we move on to the 2019 War Games, I want us to do this little thing that Joe sent us.
Okay.
Since Joe sent us this, so make sure you guys pull it up.
That was fun.
Joe, you can go first since you decided to send this to us, okay? Because I'd like to know what yours are.
Okay.
Just to preface it, everybody, this is a Who's in Your Faction. This is a AEW little put together thing where you pick, from 3 different categories and you match up and you get your own little 3-guy faction.
So I found this it was on Twitter. It was on AEW's Twitter feed today. It was today. So it's like Jeremy said, who's in your faction? So it's your birth month and they have random wrestlers in your birth month. It's your favorite food and your favorite color. So my birthday's in May. So I have my first guy is Jon Moxley. My favorite pizza. And I didn't pick this because of the wrestler who was on it. My favorite pizza is legitimately pizza. So Sting is on there for pizza. And my favorite colors in order are blue, red, and black. So blue is my number one. So Cody Rhodes is my other one. So I have Moxley, Sting, and Cody Rhodes.
Nice.
For my 3-person faction.
All right.
And no AJ. I didn't pick Sting because of pizza. He was on pizza. Pizza's legit.
Mine's stupid. And as soon as I saw it, I looked at the colors and said, of course.
All right. Go ahead there, sir.
You could go next then.
So my birthday's in November, so I got Ricky Starks, which I'm fine with because I like Ricky Starks.
Okay.
My favorite food
is good.
My favorite food is steak, so I got Ray Phoenix, which is fine. He's not my favorite, but it's fine. But then my favorite color is purple, so of course I got Miro, and he's awful. I don't want him anywhere near my faction.
Oh, Miro. No, I looked
at the list, and I said, of course, every other color except for purple is somebody I'd want in my faction. So that's the way it worked.
I mean, you got 2 out of 3 though. Ricky Starks is good.
My favorite color today is orange because Kenny Omega.
There you go. Whatever.
But purple is. You guys all know purple's my favorite color, so it's not like I can pretend it's not. But of course, Miro was attached to that because that's the way it would have to be.
All right. So mine, my month is April, so I got Darby Allin.
Okay.
My favorite food is tacos, so I got Jungle Boy. And then my favorite color is blue, so I get Cody Rhodes. So I got Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and Cody Rhodes.
Yes, mine is by far the worst. Even after Pat goes, mine is going to be the worst. So no questions asked. All right, Miro's in mine, so it's over. As soon as Miro was in it, it was over.
Jesus.
At least I didn't get Lance Archer, because Lance Archer and Miro then would have been, oh my Lord.
What do you got here, Pat?
Well, I mean, birth month is February, so I'm stuck with Luchasaurus.
They're all Luchasaurus.
Favorite food? I don't know. I have a hard time picking between pizza, burger, or steak. So it would be Sting, Hangman Adam Page or Ray Phoenix. Just to be different from what we've already said, I'll go with Burgers, so that way it'll give me Hangman Adam Page. And favorite color, it's either black or red. I'm not picking red because of who they put on there. So
Jade.
I'm going with black and Sammy Guevara.
Once I will state my case again. Mine is the worst of the four, like for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going with red and picking and ended up with fucking Jade Cargill. So sorry.
All right, we're gonna have to put this a link to this tweet so that we can get our fans, so you
Yeah,
guys can let
I'll
us
get it on
know
there.
what your faction would be for all you wrestling nerds and geeks like us out there. We want to know what your guys' faction are. So we'll make sure we put a link to this tweet out there so you guys can check it out.
I'll post it on there. That's
All
fun.
right.
I just thought it was fun.
So let's talk about War Games 2019. This had
I love this match. So I love this match. I've watched it so many times. I love this match.
You already got your pants are already wet just thinking about this match. We know. But this match was the Undisputed Era, which AJ.
It's Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong.
Thank you, because I can never remember the two tag team guys because they're
Okay.
unimportant to me. So this does differ from the 87 War Games in the fact that it's not 10 guys, it's only 8 guys. So there is a difference. Just that difference right there, can be a big one because we don't have any managers getting in the ring. The second group was
Team Ciampa,
So it was Tommaso Ciampa. It was
Keith Lee,
and
Dominic Dijakovic,
Dijakovic,
and a mystery person.
And a mystery person.
Dijakovic.
Yeah, when I saw Dijakovic, I was like, who the hell is this guy? Like, you really have to watch NXT to know who that is because he's not on the main roster. I don't even know if he's with the company anymore.
He is on T-Bar or whatever in Retribution currently. He's pretty bad, like in Retribution. He's not a bad wrestler. His whole shtick in NXT was fine. I didn't love him, but he was fine.
Mhm.
But they've ruined him completely on the main roster.
So this match starts off with Roderick Strong and Tommaso Ciampa. And I got to say right there, you have, besides Adam Cole, you have probably the two best wrestlers in that match in the ring. And I
Yes,
thought that was a great way to start that match because Roderick Strong's such a good technical wrestler, and the fact of all the damn backbreakers that he does, he's like I forget what they call him, the professor of black backbreakers, or they mentioned it a couple times. And Tommaso Ciampa is just if you've never seen him wrestle, you need to watch him wrestle. He is just a hell of a wrestler.
Strong is the guy that's like the redheaded stepchild that always never gets quite there. Like he's like the best wrestler that never gets credit for being as good as he is because when you're an Undisputed, you're always taking a backseat to Adam Cole, no matter what. Like so Roddy's kind of the redheaded stepchild. That it was cool that because at this time all of them had belts too.
Yes.
So the Undisputed Prophecy was in full effect because all 4 of them had belts. So Roddy had just won the belt from Velveteen. So
yes. So this match really starts off real well. And then of course, Undisputed Era gets the upper hand because they got the first.
they won a match. They
won
won a match on the previous episode of NXT. Adam Cole fought Dijakovic in a ladder match and they won. So back in 87, they just flipped a coin. Now we've progressed to an actual match.
Right.
Earlier to decide, like a week before, to decide who gets the advantage.
Right.
They
And then,
flipped a coin. You know,
So
so the
then
heels always won the coin flip.
Almost
Yes.
always.
Yep.
yes.
Almost.
And then you had one of the guys from the tag team come in.
Kyle O'Reilly came in next.
Kyle O'Reilly comes in, and I thought it was a great 2-on-1 beatdown Like it wasn't like in 87, just to reference the 87 War Games. I felt like Dusty Rhodes was able to beat up two guys at one time. Like they got a couple shots in, but Dusty Rhodes controlled two guys at one time, which was kind of weird to me. But in this, Tommaso Ciampa is getting his ass beat by the Undisputed Era, which is how it should be. If you got a 2-1 advantage, you should have your ass handed to you. You shouldn't be able, maybe getting a couple licks here and there, and get some the babyface comeback, but you shouldn't be able to beat their ass and like control the match. So I thought that was very, very well done and thought out by the group of guys that were in the ring.
There is no roof. We should preface there is no roof now.
Yes. So, and that was one of my takeaways. Like, I just personally prefer the roof. I think that makes it a little more dangerous looking. I don't know. But the other thing I noted that is we're not going to see it in WWE, but I think because it is a cage, because of the danger of the cage and people going into the cage, there should be blood. But like I said, we know we're not going to see that in WWE. But if it was old WWE, I think we would have seen blood, where now we're just not going to, no matter how hard or how many times guys go into the cage, which is, maybe a little far-fetched that they don't get cut because it is a chain link fence.
But you can, if you're going to do that, though, then it's not just this, though. You have Hell in a Cell, you have Steel Cage, you have Elimination Chamber, you have all these matches where they don't do blood in any of them. So you can't use that against something.
I'm not
they don't
using
do it in
it
any of their matches.
Yeah, let me digress a little bit. I'm not taking that away from this match. I'm just saying I personally believe that there should be blood, like in any kind of cage match. There should be.
I do too.
So I'm not taking that away from them. So that's not a takeaway. That was just an observation.
And they're also in cages at the top of the ramp too. The teams are in a cage together. Like there's two cages. That's definitely my favorite way that they've done this. I prefer the guys being in the cages together like that. So
I think overall they did a very good job of putting this together. I think they modernized it to what WWE wanted. And I think as far as an overall fan way of being able to see it, it made more sense because not everybody was so crowded around the ring and you couldn't, they panned away from the ring when there wasn't something going on necessarily to show the guys in the cages. And then, of course, the next person to come in was Dijakovic, which was interesting because he kind of reminded me, as you guys mentioned about Lex Luger being new and not really knowing what to do. Like there was a point in time when Dijakovic comes in and he's putting up his leg in his hand. I think he thought he was supposed to get hit and block it. And it looked more like he was trying to dance.
He was definitely, you are the weakest link. If you're going to pick the weakest link of a match, it was definitely Dijakovic in this match. So he was for sure the Lex Luger of this match.
Yeah, definitely. Joe, Pat, anything to add at this point?
No, you're spot on with that right now.
Okay.
The cages at the top would be fine if they didn't do the entrances the way they did.
Okay, I get that.
The Undisputed Era comes out, they do all their posing and all that shit, and they stand there, and then one by one, Keith Lee and Dijakovic and Ciampa come out, and Ciampa just goes straight to the ring, and of course, the mystery partner doesn't come out and everything. What's the point of having them so close to each other up at the top of the ramp like that, and then put them in the cages? No. If you're going to use those cages, Undisputed Era comes out, they do their posing, they do their whatever. Before any of the other team comes out, they go in the fucking cage, and the one guy.
That's fine.
The guy's going to start goes to the ramp. So I just thought that was stupid.
I get that. I can make sense.
One thing that I don't think we talk about enough. I also say I'm in favor of the roof on the cage because it gives you a more claustrophobic sense. It gives you a more confined sense of this is where you are, this is where you got to be. One thing we don't talk about often enough, though, is WWE's rings are bigger than Crockett WCW's rings were. And I think that takes a little bit of the urgency away from the match in a little bit, and that there's a little bit more space to work with, so it's not quite as closely confined to, to everything else. So that it makes things seem a little less impactful to me. That's something that I felt when I was watching it.
And see,
Another thing-
I'm on the opposite side with that, because I think with the bigger rings, it gives them more room to work, which is a
Yes.
good thing. So they can
I agree. I agree with you on that,
camera wise,
too.
they can move the cameras around more and stuff like that. I mean, there was one time because there was a camera in the ring that the camera guy got hit, and you see this.
Yeah, I mean, it helps with the TV presentation. Yeah, but I feel like
No,
almost
it helps
gives-
because then you don't feel like everybody's on top of each other. Then you don't, because that happened in the first one. There were times where you felt like they were trying to not get on top of each other. That definitely happens in that one, where you're like, okay, you don't want to, there's more room to work with, so it makes it easier for them to not, like, this group that's beating each other up doesn't get mixed up with that group that they're beating up unless they're supposed to. So I think it helps in that instance too.
Well, I feel like they do that to themselves. Like I mean, especially in a match where it's 4-on-4 with 2 rings, there's really no reason why you guys should be like bumping into each other or stuff like that. So I think it's maybe poor spot planning. I don't know. One other thing that bothered me was the 3-minute intervals. Again, I felt like it just created less urgency, and it made the match drag a little bit in spots where it didn't need to. And this is what I was talking about with the crowd reaction. I felt like the crowd was popping big to the big spots, or to like when the next guy came in and everything. But then there would be parts in like the intervals then before like the next big spot happened or the next guy came in, where the crowd was pretty quiet and they weren't really responding to anything, and there wasn't really a lot of stuff that was happening. So I felt like that took away a little bit. It just, they weren't able to maintain the momentum quite as well. Just that's just the way it struck me.
I still don't agree with that. So I think that's the best crowd. NXT has the best crowd in wrestling. Like, to me, it's not even subjective at this point. It's a no-brainer. And that's a Chicago crowd to boot. So you've got NXT in Chicago, and those fans, I watched that match and I enjoy that match because of the fans. They help me make NXT fans sometimes make a match that's a 4.5, a 4.75 because the crowd is hyped. And I thought the crowd was hyped in that match. I just watched it a half hour before we did this. So I don't agree with you on that. So
Right.
And half the time when the crowd was reacting to anything, they were fucking chanting for Keith Lee when Keith Lee wasn't even in the goddamn match yet.
some of the time they were.
Which tells me that they're not paying attention then to what's going on in the ring.
So
I feel like that they just were not fully into it, and I feel like it detracted.
So when I watched it, they were definitely into the match, but there were definitely, as I was watching, there were definitely lulls where they weren't necessarily cheering or reacting to something. There were definitely, and they weren't big, they were very small periods where I didn't hear the crowd like cheering or doing something, where in the 87 one, like I felt all I could hear was the crowd throughout the whole thing. So I agree with Pat to a point, but maybe it wasn't as big as maybe he feels it was. Like maybe it was, I felt it was very small points where the crowd was not necessarily doing something. And then there was weird points where they were chanting weird stuff. And I was like, what the hell are they chanting that for? Like, I don't understand, but that's because I don't necessarily watch NXT. So I maybe didn't understand the chant that they were doing. All right. So then it gets to a 3-on-2 where AJ, what's the name of the gentleman that comes in? He's the other
Bobby
half of the
Fish.
Bobby Fish comes in, which the other thing that I thought was really weird when both Bobby Fish and O'Reilly got out of the cage, it like took them a second. They're like, okay, I'm out of the rage and now I'll run down. Like they didn't just like run. They like kind of, okay. And it was kind of odd. It just struck me as odd, but Fish comes in, another good 3-on-2 beatdown, which it should be. They have the advantage. It should be a beatdown. There should be no.
And they did their tag team move at least once or twice during that session.
Yes. And then of course Keith Lee comes in. The crowd kind of pops for Keith Lee, kind of.
No, the crowd. he was the person that the face. He was the face that people liked at that point. So I'm not going to disagree with the fact that the crowd was popping for him.
Yeah.
I would have not. I have never popped for that guy. I will never pop for that guy in my life. So I don't understand. But like I said, in this match, he did fine. When he did the leapfrog over 2 people, that's impressive for a big dude like that to leapfrog 2 people.
Yeah.
So
he comes in, he does some of his big man stuff, shows off some of his ability because he jumps off the top rope. No,
I don't like when he does that smack. I think that move is so stupid, and the crowd eats that up, and everybody loves it. And he does that like double. I think that move is so corny.
Yeah, like he did the double crossbody, which was
like
cool.
Strowman's, get these hands thing that drives me up the wall.
Yeah, so he does his thing. They get it evens out a little bit, but for some reason, the Undisputed Era still keeps it down because they like knock out 2 guys and then they beat up 1 guy and like they keep going back and forth to kind of keep everybody down. And of course, Adam Cole comes in. He gets a big pop because everybody loves Adam Cole.
Dude, he got a huge pop because he kept throwing tables in the fucking ring. That place went ape shit.
And so
I'm like, when's he gonna stop?
Yeah. So here's my thing with the tables. I don't for the type of match that was. Like, I understand they want to take it up another level. Like, I always get that, and things have to progress. But I didn't see the necessity for it because of the talent that they had in the ring. I didn't see the necessity for the table, and I don't know. For me, it kind of took something away from it when it wasn't necessarily needed. But
I like when he does that because the crowd was like. At one point, when he puts the 3rd or 4th table and they're like chanting, "Thank you, Adam." So clearly the crowd wanted the tables because I think at one point they must have been chanting for them because I heard Ronaldo say the crowd asked for tables and Adam Cole gave him tables. And this is a Chicago crowd. So it's very possible that we could hear a chant at some point where they were asking for tables.
Yes.
I was okay with the tables. I wasn't really. And I was a little indifferent. I didn't mind it. I didn't hate it. I didn't mind it.
I liked what they did with the tables.
Did some good stuff with
I liked what they did with the tables. Even when Ciampa threw Cole through the table, it looked like it backfired initially. They're like, "Oh, look, he put this table in the ring, and it really blew up in his face. Ultimately, it blew up in all their faces. They put all the tables in the ring, and they basically went through all of them."
Yeah, no, I mean, what they did with them was, and it made sense, and how it was billed. Did they need to do it? No, they really didn't need the tables, but I mean, it worked for the spots they put them in, so I was fine with that. Yeah. I just didn't want them to like overly use the tables and be too much tables,
and that's what I was worried about.
Yeah, that would have taken away from it.
The tables were basically substitutes for blood.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's 100% right. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't agreed with a lot tonight. I agree with that. That's the new age blood. Tables and high spots and stuff is replaced blood, and yes. Then it gets down to what you would rather see, and I would rather see the table spots, and the blood doesn't excite me that much. I don't. It's just another spot. Blood's a spot, just like going through a table's a spot. So.
Okay. So then, of course, the mystery guest this. Is there a 4th man? Is there not a 4th man? And nothing happens. And they're like, see, there is no 4th man.
Well, they showed Adam Cole, right? And Adam Cole and Kevin Owens are really good friends in real life. They're like really good friends. They made sure to pan to him right after Owens comes. Like you see Cole's face and he's like, oh, fuck.
Yes. And then, of course, the music hits and it's KO and the fucking crowd goes ape shit. And for good reason, because one, he was on NXT and was, really good in NXT. And now he's up on the main roster. And you don't see at that time a lot of main roster guys come down to the pay-per-views for NXT and have him come down, be the 4th guy. Huge pop.
And I had a feeling it might be him. Like, I'm not going to say I 100% knew. It was definitely a discussion that I had with like Zach and my other friends. We knew, and I was actually at work. So I was not watching this match live. Sakamoto texted me and he said, holy shit. I ran to the back, went in the bathroom and watched it because I'm like, Kevin Owens is there. So
he took his fake dump to watch it. I gotta take a shit, guys. I'll be right back.
I knew it. As soon as he didn't even say KO. It just said, holy shit. So I'm like, I'll be back in a minute. And I was in the bathroom watching. I'm like, holy shit, Owens is here. And Owens comes in, rips shit up. Adam Cole takes an amazing stunner and sells the fucking shit out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
And then so from there, we get a whole bunch of crazy shit happens. One thing that I thought was a little overdone, they had so many super kicks. Like I think Adam Cole super kicked 6 people.
He's a super kick person, so
so it was a move that got overdone in my opinion.
I mean that move's been overdone in wrestling in general now. So
Right.
everybody remember when Shawn Michaels was the only one that did a super kick?
Yeah.
Now everybody and their mother does it.
Yeah. One thing
Yeah.
that was very, very
Remember
scary to
when
watch.
Chris Adams did a super kick and he didn't have to slap his leg.
There was no, I don't.
Wait, what?
There was one
think
move
Shawn
that really,
Michaels
really
started
scared
the whole-
me.
Shawn Michaels started the whole slapping his leg when doing the super kick thing, but gentleman Chris Adams, when
yes,
he
yes.
did the super kick before Shawn Michaels did, he never had to slap his leg. He was able to hit it with the way that, sold the impact without needing the additional leg slap to, make it sound better.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
So a couple things happened that scared me when I was watching this match, some of the moves. There's a point where Roderick Strong is getting thrown by Keith Lee and Dijakovic, and they're supposed to throw him over both sets of ropes into the Undisputed Era, but they don't fucking barely make it over the first set of ropes. I was
Yep.
like, oh my God, he's going to die because he literally goes over the top of the first rope
Christ.
and then head dives between the second and third rope on the second ring. I was like, oh my God, like these guys are supposed to be the strong guys in this fucking match and they can't throw this little tiny guy over 2 sets of ropes. Like, come on.
It was cool when Roddy did the Olympic slam to Keith Lee off the ropes. That was cool.
That was
Yeah.
very cool. The other one that was just looked bad is it was Adam Cole and KO in the middle of the 2 rings.
Oh, dude, that was awesome when he did the Canadian Destroyer. That was one of the best Canadian Destroyers I've ever seen. He did it on the fucking middle of the thing, on the steel.
And I'm sorry, you're gonna not like this, but that was probably one of the worst Canadian Destroyers I've ever seen because he barely even makes it over. Like he lands on it on like between his back and his ass. He lands there. He doesn't even get all the way over. Like that to me, I'm
I'd have to
watching. I'm
watch
like,
it
man,
again.
that's a Canadian Destroyer gone wrong.
I don't think. I mean, that's not what I thought when I saw it. So I knew he was going to do it too. So
I didn't think it looked that bad. I mean, obviously it's going to be a little limited by the amount of space that they have, but I didn't think it looked
Right.
bad. I think that the way they shot it helped too.
I mean, he teased doing the package pile driver. Like even the crowd was popping when he was teasing that he was going to do the package pile driver. And
Yeah.
in WWE's main roster, nobody's popping on the crowd because they don't know that that's his finisher when he was in PWG and stuff. So like that
Mhm.
was cool
No.
that the crowd was popping when he was going to do the package pile driver.
Yeah, I was interested to see him do that. Like I was like, ooh, this is gonna be cool.
Yeah,
'Cause I knew what he
no.
was setting up for.
No,
But
WWE told him the minute he walked in, no package pile driver.
Yeah.
so those were the 2 things that I saw that really like scared me just because it looked when, like I said, when he did the Canadian Destroyer, he didn't get all the way around. I was worried
No,
that
he didn't.
Adam
he didn't
Cole
get all
was
the way
gonna
around, but
like
I just,
hurt himself.
Just them doing that and trying to do that in that sequence was like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, they're trying to do this here.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, Owens isn't an easy guy to be on the either end of that.
But there was one really, really funny line that and this is where my non-knowledge my what was the main announcer's name? It was
Mauro Ranallo,
Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And I love him. Like when I get to
he's
hear
awesome.
him,
He's
so good.
awesome.
Not as good as Joey the Stylist, but let's keep going.
Okay.
Who?
I thought you were going
Um,
to say Joey. He said Joey the Stylist.
Who?
Exactly. Joey
Um,
the Stylist.
He
did
says,
it
Ronaldo
in a ring.
says when Keith Lee gets punched in the balls, or he's like attacking the peninsula south of the equator. I was
Yes, that
dying
shit was
when he
funny.
said that. I was like, that is awesome. Like I have to write that down. That was
He
such a good line.
he has so
Yes.
much energy. He looks he's the one announcer that you can 100% tell wants to be doing what he's doing. Like it's a shame that he's not with them anymore because I've never heard anybody like him. The stuff he says, he has like bipolar disorder and all kinds of stuff. And
he has some issues that he couldn't control.
But he said this once about Ricochet. He is the gift that keeps on giving. Mauro Ranallo is the gift that keeps on giving. And when they did the Canadian Destroyer, the crowd did the Mamma Mia. Because that's Ronaldo's thing. He does Mamma Mia when something crazy. So it's like when I would only let Pat say, "Oh my God," once a night. The crowd will only do Mamma Mia once a night, and they chose that moment to do the Mamma Mia.
And it was really funny too when he's going, "Holy bleep, holy bleep!" Like I forget what the heck happened, but he's like, "Oh my God, holy bleep, holy bleep!" I'm like, that's really funny because he knows he can't curse, but he can do.
There's like videos
You
of
say
him on
the
YouTube.
bleep. It's awesome.
There's like videos of him on YouTube where you can watch. Somebody just has the camera on him during matches. He is going crazy. Like during TakeOver New Orleans, he's like standing out of his chair, throwing papers everywhere because he's like, "Oh my God, animated. What is going on?"
So there was a lot of good back and forth once all the four guys were in there. A lot of good stuff happened. And we get to probably the craziest spot in that match. And it was really scary, but it's the thing that took away from that spot for me was how long it took to set up. And I understand why it takes so long to set up because, I mean, you don't want to kill anybody. But because of that, it kind of took away to a little bit, not a ton, but enough that it's like, okay, we know there's a spot coming up, like something's going to happen.
Well,
like,
they panned away from them for a while, which at least they didn't have the camera on them. They panned away and did a bunch of other table spots and let them get up there. If they had been on them during some of that, I would have been more, but they panned away from them and had all the other table spots. Like when O'Reilly or when Dijakovic's O'Reilly's got him in that arm lock and then he sets him on the table and Owens like frog splashes him or whatever. That was cool. So they did. You're right, Jeremy. It's hard to set up. It's just like when WWE wrestlers do the Spanish fly. That move drives me nuts because they're both waiting to get perfectly their feet settled and everything to do it. So it's like you're stuck. It's like you can nitpick and say it took forever to do this. I don't really like the Spanish fly, but a lot of people love when people do that move. But it's another one that takes a long time because you got two guys on the top rope and the crowd was chanting, "Please don't die." So the crowd knew what was coming because they were chanting, "Please don't die." We chanted that at our pay-per-view at CWA a couple times. And these guys were definitely doing something way crazier than we ever did.
Yeah. No, so the spot was cool. For me personally, I was like, I don't think they needed to do that spot to end the match. But like I said, that's my personal preference. I thought it was because of how long and everything like that in my personal preference, it wasn't necessary. They could have done something different because here's the thing with that. And this is why I say that, because now where do you go? Like the next War Games, where do you go from here? You've already added tables. You've already done the crazy spot off the top of the cage. Like, where do you go? Like, what else can you do? Like, you're supposed, in my opinion, you're supposed to build up to some of the crazier stuff. Like, not just do it in the first one.
They didn't really do anything as crazy this year. They did less crazy stuff. I mean, McAfee was in the one this year, but they did less crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. But Meltzer gave this year's a higher rating than last year's. Like the one we watched, he gave it a 4.5. He gave the one this year a 4.75. And I didn't like the one this year as much because I think they like took a step backwards, almost like you're saying, Jeremy. They plateaued kind of. And now they're like, what do we do? So what you're saying is right. I still think it's one of the coolest spots I've ever seen in WWE. So,
and I agree. I wrote down cool spot. You know, that's what I put. Cool spot to the end of the match.
There's a lot of spots in a lot of wrestling matches that people don't need to do, and they do them anyway. So I mean, I could go back through history and say, why did they do this? Why does Jeff Hardy have to do a swanton in every single match he's in off of a ladder? Like you could start nitpicking into everything. At least this was something different that I'd never seen somebody do before. I think that's probably, if I see it again, it's not as cool, but seeing it the one time made it cool. Don't do it again though.
Yeah. So overall, I personally, because of the athleticism and wrestling ability that happened, the wrestling that happened, I personally like the 2019 better than the 87, but that's just like I said, that's my personal preference and how I like my wrestling. I like my wrestling a little bit more drop kicks and like more wrestling moves than like what the 87 one was, which was more like punch and kick and, rub guys' heads and stuff. Like it was very, old school, which fit the times, it fit the times. Didn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I just enjoyed the 2019 better. AJ, I kind of think I know where you're going.
As did I. So
Theo,
but I also like the other one too, though. So I enjoyed the other one because I watched the other one. Probably I mean, back then we didn't have access to that stuff, but the first chance I got to like watch it on VHS, I watched that War Games match. So because
VHS,
it was cool at the time, and you really have like, so if you go back then and you look at the guys that were in that match, you do have, I think it's a little bit better representation of the best guys back then, because Flair and Koloff and Dusty and the Road Warriors and Tully and Arn, that's like six guys who I think are really, 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 really good wrestlers. This one, it's a little bit less. I don't think Dijakovic is anything special. You guys know I don't really think Keith Lee. He's fine, but he's passable.
Yeah,
but I don't think
I'm there with you, Keith Lee, too. I'm not a big fan.
But like Adam Cole is on another level. Ciampa's pretty awesome. Seeing Kevin Owens, who's another guy that's on it, and whether you like Undisputed, whether you like Fish and O'Reilly, they're the best tag team probably in NXT history up to this point. They've won the tag belts more than anybody. So they're a hit or miss thing. I like them a lot, but Fish is kind of hit or miss with me. But I do like O'Reilly. So I think they have a couple guys who are really, really good at what they do right now. Yeah. But I think there was more quality guys in the first one than there was in this one. So
I can agree with that. Theo, which one did you prefer out of the two?
This one's challenging for me. I like both styles of both of them, really. Joe
definitely would be the person that would be the both styles person of the four of us, I think.
Yeah, I like both styles. I just it's right because I've enjoyed every single NXT War Games they've done. Even the women's one I thought that was an awesome match. I think for me though, I feel, and I understand why they don't do it, because they don't want to have every single cage match in WWE with a fucking roof on it. I feel it needs the cage. I feel it needs a top. But if you want this generation of guys to have specific spots, raise the roof on it, make it taller, so they're able to do more stuff inside of it to get those bigger spots and whatnot. Because the Hell in the Cell has been a tall, it's been a short one, and that fucking cage has been multiple different sizes. So I mean, if you could do it with that, you should be able to do it in War Games to give those type of athletic guys more of an ability to do more stuff. I kind of lean a little bit towards the first one, just because I really enjoyed all the selling and all the chaos, and I kind of like blood too at times. And how do you not vote against a flare flop here or there? No, it is what it is. But maybe the smidge more for the first one than the NXT one, but not by much. I'm saying like 4.1 to 4.0. Like if I'm really going,
you just
that
really
route.
like those type of matches. Let's just put it that way.
I do. I love cage matches. I legit love cage matches. And War Games was awesome. Like when I was a kid, like think about it. That was old NWA technically / WCW AWA bullshit.
I was 12. You were like 11, Joe. So that's like when we were kids.
And that was just like innovative. Even when I was watching the Tower of Doom, which was in 89. Was it 89? 89. that was something crazy and innovative that they did. I was watching that, and you see the top and they have it all cabled up, but it's still like shaking and moving. And that was just something different. And that type of stuff always caught my eye and made me like engage into wrestling more. So just a little bit more.
The lack of blood
in
the lack of blood in all cage matches in WWE drives me nuts. I've just accepted it at this point.
Yeah.
It's you're right that I think cage matches need blood because that's the point of them. But they stopped doing blood in cage matches 5 or 6. I just accepted it, and I don't really worry about it anymore because it's not going to happen. So
it just sucks because like you watch like their cage matches now, Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber, even NXT War Games, like you see people being thrown into the cages. You have someone's like head there and they're stepping on it, and they're like your head's still kind of rubbing, and someone has to bleed at some point, even something small. I don't know. It's just like, how do you have all these cage matches?
Getting blood the hard way.
Yeah,
he's like fuck WWE, punch me or do something to me to make me bleed.
Yeah,
I don't care if they fined me $5,000. They paid me $1 million for this match, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, geez.
So Darth Pat,
go ahead, Darth Pat.
What is your preferred match? 87 or 2019?
I mean, overall, top to bottom, start to finish, I prefer the 87 one, and that's for some of the reasons that I already mentioned. I mean, just kind of finish up my thoughts on the 2019 match. The lack of the roof on the cage ended up not bothering me because that last spot was pretty awesome. I will not deny that.
It was dangerous. It was very dangerous. And
it does bother me that they use tables, to try to sell the impact of the match since they're not going to go with blood. That does bother me. Pinfalls bother me in this match. I much preferred it the way it was with just, submission or surrender.
Yeah, but that's the same fucking thing. So that didn't make any sense. Submission or surrender, that you're fucking either way you're giving up. Like, so that made no sense to me.
The point is somebody had to give up. Somebody had to basically say, I quit or whatever.
It's more of a dramatic.
Yeah,
right. The overall dramatics of the match, which I can't really say.
Yeah, somebody had to say like, I quit, or basically be, damn near killed by an errant Sid Vicious power.
It's like a steel cage match. I want to see somebody climb out to win, but people get pinfalls in that steel cage matches. I would rather see somebody climb out.
I don't like that about regular steel cage match either. I mean, that's fine for Hell in a Cell. But of course the thing is they always leave the goddamn cell anyway, but I've always preferred escaping the cage, for regular cage matches. And there was one other thing that really, really bothered me about this match, about the 2019 match, and that was the announcing. Mauro Ranallo annoyed the ever-loving okay?
Yeah.
You talk about his energy, and that's great, and that's great that he's got the energy, but it seems like he is spending a lot of that energy on getting himself over and not what's going on in the ring or getting the wrestlers over. And I gotta tell you, I really get fucking annoyed, especially as somebody who does not watch NXT regularly. I really get annoyed with he calls something and then all of a sudden he's shouting some like catchphrase. It's not his job to get one of these assholes catchphrases over. It's his job to call the fucking action and get them over by what they're doing in the ring, not by shouting out whatever their catchphrase is. I wish I could remember an example, but there was a couple times he's just like shouting some random phrase, and it's really just it really just detracted from me. Beth Phoenix is not great at announcing either.
She's not. I'll agree with you on that. I think she's not good.
Her voice just does not have a sense of urgency to it, or I don't really know how to describe it. It's just, and I found this about Renee Young when she was doing announcing on Raw and on pay-per-views too. It just seems like there's something lacking in their voices, which I don't know. It doesn't add to it and everything. Nigel McGuinness I thought was okay. That's probably just because I like listening to British people talk about wrestling.
So random.
But,
The accent.
but he also didn't really say anything that was, all that great or anything.
He usually doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
Wade Barrett's better.
Yeah. I mean, so I did not have. I mean, you can make the argument that all WWE announcing just sucks right now, though. So, that's again, I'll blame that on Vince. So I like this match. I thought it was good. I thought that they definitely they definitely left it all out there. I mean, Roderick Strong is kind of funny because I remember watching him wrestle, back in like the early days of TNA, like shit, 12, 13, 14 years ago now. And it's like, he hasn't aged much. So that's to his credit. He doesn't look all that older. There was definitely, and this isn't to say that I felt like he was bad in this match or anything, but Dijakovic kind of sticks out like a sore thumb to me among the other guys that were in the match.
I told you he was the weakest link, so he's definitely.
He just kind of stood out a little bit as being like the one who's like, yeah, he's got a decent look and everything, but he doesn't seem like his skills are up to the snuff of everybody else in there around him. So
yeah.
So again,
he was like Luger in the first one.
Yeah, he was the Luger.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't like some of the things that they've changed since the original War Games concept, but this wasn't like the 1998 Fall Brawl War Games, if you remember what that train wreck was. In terms of just like totally changing the parameters of the match and everything. So they didn't do anything as horrible as that. So yeah, I thought this was pretty solid. I just prefer the 87 one a little bit more.
Okay.
And I'll freely admit that a good part of that is I'm probably just more familiar with those guys from 87 than I am with the NXT guys too.
I like the changes I prefer the way they've changed it. Other than if they went back to the surrender, that would be fine. The pinfalls, I don't like pinfalls in cage matches either. So I probably am more inclined to be okay if they were to just make it submit or surrender. But when there's no blood, it's harder to do that because then you can't like bust them open with weapons and stuff. I think they probably had to change because they got the blood away. I think if they were allowed to bleed, they would still be able to do the submit and surrender. I think the no blood. Thank you, John Cena, or whoever's to blame for no blood. I feel like Cena figures into this somewhere.
Cena didn't like to get color. I think Brock busted him open on purpose. The one on the match that they had, he was like, "I'm gonna fucking kick your ass," and you're gonna look like you got your ass kicked. Because he literally elbows him in the fucking forehead and like just.
Yeah, I think Brock legitimately did that on purpose.
Obviously, I am, because Kevin Owens was the surprise person. I definitely have partialness to this match because that was a really cool like surprise. Like there's not a lot of really cool surprises in wrestling anymore. They're very few and far between. Even if you don't like him, if you like NXT, him going back to NXT, like Jeremy said, that was a really cool like premise for them to do that with him. So
absolutely.
All right. One other quick thing I just thought of while I was watching the match. Again, I don't feel like that they were really holding back or anything, and obviously the guys are taking spots through tables and stuff, but they probably were holding back to a small extent because they were talking about how they all had matches like the next night at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
Right. And Adam Cole went out the next night and had the best match, like as far as Big Dog Dave Meltzer. His match with Pete Dunne got the highest rating at Survivor Series. So he went out the next night after that crazy shit and fought Pete Dunne and got 4.5 stars for that match. So that is crazy shit that he went out, him and Roddy and the Undisputed Era all wrestled the next day, and Keith Lee too. So
I just can't believe you would ask these guys to wrestle a War Games match and then ask them to wrestle again the next night. That's in fucking insane.
Yeah, you're right, Pat. I was going to bring that up, so I'm glad you brought that up. The fact that the next night several of those guys had really good matches the next night too.
All right, Joe, you have a stumper for us, which is going to bring us actually to the end of our show, amazingly, because we do not have a
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore this week. So, Joe,
No.
what
no.
is our stumper? What is our stumper
So-
question?
All right. So before I get to this stuff, I just want to give a shout out to my friend Rob Taub at All Around Detailing. I'm going to plug this guy. A couple of us have known him for a while. He's personally
Yes.
worked with me at my current job. Really good dude. He's been detailing for years now. Listen, go on our Facebook, Four Guys Roundtable Show. I have a post on there. It's All Around Detailing. Click on that link. And if you're in the tri-state area, Delaware, New Jersey, PA, he has his own place. He does some mobile stuff. Listen, if you want your car to look like it was on the showroom floor, he will make it. Inside, out, everything. He's no joke. He uses good products to clean your car. None of the cheap shit. He's got good prices, and he will definitely make your car shine for several months. So please go check him out. Go on our Facebook, people, please. And check out All Around Detailing and get your car clean for the spring and summertime, people. All right. With that being said, so I have a little stumper. Who are the two wrestlers who have won multiple Money in the Bank matches?
I thought this was going to be War Games.
I think the
I didn't
Miz.
find any interesting ones. I have a list.
So I have to go with the Miz. That's one. And who the hell else won a multiple?
Edge.
Was it Edge?
On a
I don't
technicality, kind of, sort of.
Yes. I mean, I guess you're right. He took it from Mr. Kennedy. So technically, he didn't win two Money in the Bank matches. Edge, like he got one. He got one the other way. He went the circuitous route to get the other one.
Yeah, he won one, and the other one, Mr. Anderson, and they kind of, I forget what it was, something on Raw, and he got the Money in the Bank from him on Raw, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kennedy had got hurt, so they had to get it off of him.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
Miz,
are you saying won multiple Money in the Bank ladder matches or Money in the Bank cash-ins?
Ladder matches.
Randy Orton and
well, the second one's the Miz. It's got to be because doesn't he's the current Money in the Bank guy?
he didn't win. He got it from Otis.
Yep.
Oh, he got it from Otis. Oh, okay.
Si, senor.
So he didn't win. He didn't win twice. So I'm going to say Randy Orton.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who either of them are. I'll trust Randy Orton from AJ there. I don't know. I'm trying to think who else was in those Money in the Banks because there's been so goddamn many of them now.
Has been.
Carmella? Was she the other one? Is it a female wrestler? Is it Carmella?
I mean, she technically did win. She technically did win twice, but the first time was also kind of on a technicality because she didn't actually acquire the briefcase. No Chin acquired the briefcase.
Well, she acquired the briefcase like Otis acquired the briefcase, just in a little different manner.
So then she did. She is somebody then, Jeremy. So she did win it. She did win it. So it's Carmella and Randy Orton then. Jeremy came up with Carmella. I think Randy Orton's the other person.
Darth Pat? Any guesses?
I was gonna say Randy Orton and Edge, but I don't think Edge actually did.
Okay. So between the four of us, we at least got Randy Orton, I think.
No, Carmella's won too, Jeremy. Like when
Carmella.
Joe said that she won it the same way Otis did, like then she technically did win, like the match twice then.
So, who is it?
So Carmella is right.
Woohoo!
She won the
I got
match.
one.
She won the match, and then I believe the next night on Raw, they took it away from her because of how she won it. And then they had the match again, and then she won it. And the second one is,
I can't see.
Punk?
It.
oh, come on,
Punk.
phone.
Punk.
CM Punk.
Oh, CM Punk won it twice. I did not know.
WrestleMania 24 and WrestleMania 25.
Chick
Oh.
Mac and Punk, eh?
Hey,
For some reason, I could
so
totally.
that was a
forget
good
that.
stumper. I'm just glad I got one of them. I was pretty impressed by that. So,
So
'cause
Yes,
I normally don't know any
your
of it.
stumper record is not as great, but you got point for that one.
So I actually went back just and tallied some stuff up. I'm just curious to see if anybody, do you guys know who's lost the most War Games matches?
Not a clue. You're asking the
Ric Flair?
wrong person.
No, it's not Ric Flair.
I have no idea. I'm
Arn
just going to fill the
Anderson?
dead air here.
Yes, that Ric Flair is 1-4. Arn Anderson is 0-5.
Wow. I ain't being your partner anymore, goddammit. We always
Flair or
lose.
Arn would have been probably one of my two choices because they were in like so many of the first ones.
I tallied
Yeah.
it, Pat. I went through Wikipedia today and tallied it because I was curious who had lost the most times.
That's crazy.
'Cause, Arn wasn't in like the one from Wrestle War '91 where the Horseman actually won because
Right.
he was injured and Larry Sabisco was filling in for him. But Arn was in the losing end of this Sting Squadron Dangerous Alliance match for '92 when Flair, of course, was in WWF. So
So Arn Anderson 0-5.
Jeez.
All right, fans. So we just want to finish by saying thank you. We appreciate you tuning into the entire show. Hope you guys enjoyed it as we enjoyed talking about it and got to hear us banter a little bit. We had some heated, I don't agree with that type stuff going on, which we don't always get a whole lot of, but we did definitely on this episode.
Shit in pie hole.
You know what, Pat? I will say this, Pat, that
Uh-oh.
announcers are an acquired taste, and some people like some announcers and some just like I like Corey Graves and Joe doesn't. So announcers are an acquired taste, and not everybody likes the same people. So
Yes, because I like
lot of-
Ronaldo too. Too bad he's not there anymore.
a lot of people like Excalibur on AEW, and I think he's an idiot. So
Yes.
well,
All
there's something that you and Cornette have in common. But I don't know how much I've listened tomorrow. At least some. I just can't ever remember having this kind of a reaction to him.
I am
you may
trying to
not
close
be
the
wrong.
show.
You may not. I know. I mean, we can talk about it after it's over. I just wanted Pat to know that announcers are definitely an acquired taste. Like there's people out there that probably don't like Joey Styles either, and me and Joe think Joey Styles is like the god of announcing. So
It's just like, why do people like vanilla ice cream? That's just disgusting. I'm just kidding. All right, so nothing. All right, so once again, we want to thank you. We don't care where you're catching it, but know that you can catch the video feed on YouTube. You can catch us for an audio feed either on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or even Amazon Music. We're all on all of those, and it's easy to find. You just type in Four Guys or Four Guys Roundtable Show. You will find us instantly, and you make sure you spell guys with a Z, so it definitely comes up.
Yes.
And as AJ likes to keep on throwing the four, be on the lookout for some possible merch in the near future. I'm not sure how near, but it'll be sometime in the near future. Might catch us wearing it, and then you'll have to let us know what you guys think of the stuff that we've come up with. But once again, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and tune in next week as we talk about something else that we enjoy. We have no idea what it'll be next, but make sure you tune in. And as always, we want to say good morning, good afternoon, good night, and we'll catch you on the next episode.